The void lit up with fire. From the Council's observation deck, the delegates watched a distant warship split apart, its hull ripped open like paper. Distress calls flooded the comms for 30 seconds before cutting off in raw static. Silence fell across the chamber, broken only by the echo of alarms reporting the vessel lost. The presiding envoy's crystalline body flared with agitation. Another frontier patrol destroyed. That makes 5 this month. The reptilian envoy's crest bristled. It is sabotage. No pirate fleet could coordinate with such precision. Not sabotage, the avian delegate countered. It is open rebellion. And we all know whose claws direct it. The name hung heavy, unspoken until the insectoid envoy hissed it aloud. Veyrik! The hall stirred. Commander Veyrik, once a decorated officer of the reptilian clans, now branded renegade, ruthless, patient. His rise had been whispered about for years, but now his shadow stretched across the border. At the edge of the chamber, Lira Vey stood silently, hands clasped behind her back. She had been summoned as observer, not participant, but eyes slid toward her all the same. Humanity had been granted recognition, but suspicion clung tight. Any slip, any weakness would drag her people back into chains. The crystalline envoy turned his glare upon her. Human cadet, you hear this? Your kind is fragile, new, untested. If Veyrik strikes again, will Earth not crumble before his fleets? Lira's gaze was calm. Earth has faced storms before. We endure. If we must fight, we will. Her words were soft, but they carried. Even those who despised her stilled. The council was learning. When the human spoke, silence followed. After the session broke, she returned to her quarters, the insectoid cadet trailing behind as always. His antennae twitched nervously. You stood against them, he said. But they will use Veyrik as excuse. They will say humanity cannot protect itself. Lira regarded him steadily. Then I will protect them. His mandibles clattered uneasily. One cadet cannot shield a species. Then I'll make them see one is enough. The next morning, orders arrived. Lira was to lead a mixed reconnaissance squad into the border zone. Officially, the mission was to confirm whether pirates or rebels were responsible. Unofficially, it was a test, another trial to see if humanity was weapon or liability. Her squad assembled at the hangar, the insectoid, crystalline, and 2 reptilians, resentful eyes flashing. The taller reptilian spat at the deck. I will not take orders from prey. Lira didn't answer at once. She checked her gear, tightened her harness, then looked up with a calm that chilled him. Then die without them. Your choice. The reptilian froze. His companion tugged him aside. Neither spoke again. The shuttle broke atmosphere and entered the black. Stars stretched endless. Silence filled the cabin until the crystalline pulsed faintly. Border patrols rarely vanish without trace. If Veyrik moves openly, it means he prepares for war. The insectoid tilted his head toward Lira. And if you find proof, then I'll show them what they refuse to see. They reached the wreckage by 3rd cycle. The destroyed council ship floated like a corpse, hull torn, decks exposed to vacuum. No distress beacon pulsed, only silence. Inside, the corridors were scorched, metal twisted. The reptilians muttered uneasily as they stepped over frozen bodies drifting in the dark. Every strike had been surgical, deliberate. This was no pirate raid. The insectoid's antennae quivered. This was planned, calculated. Yes, Lira said, and meant as message. On the bulkhead wall, scorched deep into steel, they found the mark. A reptilian crest. Commander Veyrik's. The crystalline pulsed dim. He doesn't even hide it. Lira traced the symbol with her glove, voice quiet. He wants them afraid before he arrives. Their return was not clean. Midway through the debris field, the shuttle rocked under sudden fire. Plasma bolts lit the void. Reptilian deserters, ships bearing Veyrik's sigil, closed in fast. Ambush! The insectoid hissed. The reptilians in her squad panicked, arguing, snarling at each other. Lira's voice cut through, sharp and calm. Positions now! They froze, then obeyed. She directed fire, controlled bursts, no waste. The insectoid manned the flank. Crystalline flared blinding light across the void. Under her command, the small squad forced their attackers into confusion. When the last hostile ship limped away, smoking, The reptilian stared at her in silence. She returned to her seat as though nothing had shifted. "You don't command like a predator," the insectoid said quietly. "No," she replied. "Predators feed. I choose." Back at Zerath Station, the report spread like fire. Veyrik's name, his crest, his ambush, all undeniable. The council chamber shook with argument, factions tearing at each other. But beneath the noise, one truth hardened. Humanity had not broken. Humanity had led, and in the shadows beyond the frontier, Commander Veyrik prepared his fleets. His message had reached its mark, but so had hers. The storm was coming, and this time, silence would not be enough. The border zone was a graveyard. Fragments of ships drifted in silent orbit around a scarred moon, broken hulls glowing faintly as if still burning. Every colony they passed bore the same mark. Blackened walls, shattered domes, people hiding in shadows. It wasn't chaos. It was precision. Someone had cut the frontier piece by piece. The crystalline Cadet pulsed dimly as the shuttle coasted past another ruined station. This was not random. "He is carving a path." Lira's eyes scanned the wreckage, expression unreadable. "He's shaping fear into weapon." The insectoid's antennae twitched. And it works. Colonists speak his name as if he already rules. The reptilians in the squad stayed silent. Their pride didn't let them admit it, but even they recognized the pattern. They set down on a mining colony scarred by recent battle. Smoke curled from collapsed tunnels and civilians moved like ghosts among rubble. The squad disembarked cautiously, weapons raised. An elder reptilian miner approached, his crest gray with age. His voice rasped like stone grinding. Veyrik came 3 nights past. He did not kill. He showed his strength. He told us we could join or burn. The crystalline Cadet leaned forward. "And you chose?" The elder's eyes narrowed. "We chose to live." He pointed at the horizon, where makeshift banners bearing Veyrik's sigil fluttered. "Many of ours follow him now. More will." The insectoid whispered low, "He does not conquer through slaughter. He conquers by offering shelter from the slaughter he creates." Lira met the elder's gaze. "And when he returns?" The miner's silence was answer enough. Back aboard the shuttle, unease spread through the squad. The reptilians shifted restlessly, whispering among themselves. At last, one muttered, "Perhaps Veyrik is right." The council dithers. "He acts," the insectoid snapped, mandibles clattering. "You would join him after he butchered your kin?" "He brings order," the reptilian growled. "And he does not hide behind words. Unlike your council." The argument rose until Lira's voice cut clean through it. "Enough." They stilled, turning toward her. "You think Veyrik offers strength?" she said evenly. "But strength built on fear collapses when struck. He wants you to follow because you are afraid. If you do, you are already broken." The reptilian bared his teeth but said no more. The insectoid glanced at her with quiet respect. Their next stop was worse. A derelict listening post, half its systems fried, half its crew missing. As they swept the halls, Lira's instincts pricked. Too quiet. "Too clean. Trap," she murmured. The crystalline pulsed nervously. "How?" She raised a hand, silencing him. "Listen." A faint hum echoed through the walls, deliberate, rhythmic, charges. "Move," she snapped. They dove as explosions ripped through the corridors. Metal buckled, flames roared. Drones poured from vents, swarming like steel insects. The reptilians panicked, firing wildly. The insectoid slashed through 2 with precise strikes. The crystalline flared a burst of light, scattering the swarm for seconds. Lira moved like she always did, measured, calm, never wasting motion. She dragged one reptilian back from an explosion, shoved the crystalline behind cover, then fired controlled bursts that disabled drones at their weak joints. Amid the chaos, she spoke without shouting, her tone anchoring them. "Hold your fire. Count their cycle. Wait." They obeyed despite fear. The drones rotated in patterns, arcs leaving half-second blind spots. She led them through, striking only when certain. Minutes later, the last drone fell sparking at her feet. The squad panted, staring at her. The insectoid finally said what the rest thought. "You don't fight to win. You fight to end," Lira reloaded calmly. Battles aren't won by fury. They're won by choice. In the wrecked command room, they found proof. A data core still burned, but fragments remained. The crystalline patched it, pulling fragments of a fleet manifest. Dozens of ships. Organized, supplied, gathering near the frontier. A fleet not of raiders, but of soldiers, the insectoid hissed. This is invasion, the reptilian muttered. This is war. Lira studied the data, her jaw tight. No, this is storm. And he wants us blind when it breaks. On their return, the shuttle was shadowed. Ships slid from the void, sleek, bearing Veyrik's mark. Not pirates. Military craft. They opened fire immediately. The squad braced as plasma tore through shields. Lira's orders came crisp, precise. Crystal, flare high, blind their sights. Insect, cut left flank. Reptilians, hold center, suppress fire. Do not break line. For once they obeyed without hesitation. Under her command, they turned panic into rhythm, chaos into focus. They slipped past one barrage, crippled another attacker, and cut free into open space. By the time they limped back toward Zerath Station, silence filled the cabin. The reptilians avoided her eyes. The crystalline pulsed faint respect. The insectoid leaned close, voice low. You saw him before the rest of us. You knew this storm was coming. Lira's gaze stayed on the void. Because storms always come. The question is, who stands when they break? At the council chamber, the proof shattered what little calm remained. Delegates shouted over each other, panic crackling through the hall. An entire fleet! He means to topple the border! Strike first! No, parley. They argued, but no decision came. Fear paralyzed them, and in the midst of the chaos, eyes turned to her again. The human cadet, silent, calm. For the first time, she did not stay silent. If you wait, he will break you. If you strike without thought, you will shatter yourselves. If you want to live, follow me. Her voice was not loud, but it carried. The hall froze. The insectoid envoy leaned forward slowly. She speaks as commander, not cadet. The crystalline pulsed uneasily. And if we let her lead? The presiding envoy's silver eyes narrowed on her. Then the galaxy will see what humans are when silence turns to storm. The fleet gathered at the edge of the frontier. Dozens of warships slid into formation, hulls bearing Veyrik's sigil. They moved with terrifying order, like teeth in a predator's jaw. Across the border station's windows, cadets and delegates alike stared at the storm forming in space. Inside the command hall, voices clashed. We must parley! We must flee! No, we strike first. Panic drowned reason. Every envoy spoke, none listened. And through it all, Lira stood silent, arms folded behind her back. She let the noise rise until the presiding envoy struck the dais for order. Enough! His glowing eyes fixed on her. Human, you spoke of storms. Now one stands at our gates. What do you choose? All eyes turned. She let the silence hang, let their breath catch. Then she said, calm and sharp, fight, but fight with control. If you scatter, you die. If you follow, you live. The insectoid envoy clicked nervously. You would lead council fleets against Veyrik? I would lead those who want survival, she said. The crystalline pulsed faintly. And if they refuse? Then they've already chosen death. The hall stilled. Slowly, reluctantly, voices bent toward her. Fear had given way to something heavier. Recognition. Within the hour, ships shifted under her command. The coalition was patchwork. Council cruisers, training craft, even cadet squadrons pressed into service. Compared to Veyrik's fleet, they looked fragile. But they moved with purpose now, bound by her calm voice over comms. Do not break line. Do not chase glory. Hold! The insectoid cadet sat at her flank in the command center, mandibles tight. They doubt you still. They'll learn, Lira said. The storm broke with fire. Veyrik's fleet surged forward, plasma lancing across the void. The first council cruiser shattered, spinning into fragments. Cadets cried out, fear surging through channels. Lira's tone cut clean through. Hold line, they steadied. Return fire snapped across space, controlled, measured. Veyrik's ships pressed harder, seeking weakness. None came. On the lead rebel ship, Veyrik himself watched. Scaled, scarred, eyes burning with pride, he snarled at the sight of council forces holding under a human's voice. "Bring me her ship," he growled. "I will break her myself." The battle raged. Drones spilled into the station, cutting through corridors. Cadets who once mocked humanity now fought under Lira's orders. The crystalline blinded waves with bursts of light. The reptilians tore through breaches. The insectoids slashed drones with surgical strikes. But the pressure mounted. Losses bled across the coalition. Ships staggered. Lines faltered. Veyrik's fleet pushed closer, hungrier. "Storm's breaking us," the crystalline whispered. Lira's gaze was calm. "Then we break it first." She ordered a shift, pulling the fleet back deliberately, baiting Veyrik's forces into overextension. His ships pressed, scenting victory. Then her voice rang across comms. "Now." The coalition swung wide, crossfire converging. Plasma fire tore through Veyrik's flanks. Ships that had seemed fragile struck with sudden precision. The insectoid hissed in awe. "You waited until he was blind with pride." "Yes," Lira said. "Storms always break themselves if you let them." But Veyrik himself was not done. His flagship cut through the chaos straight toward the station. Boarding pods slammed into the hull. Alarms screamed. In the shattered hangar, Lira stood as the airlock tore open. Veyrik strode through, towering, armored, a predator incarnate. He laughed deep and sharp. "So this is the Deathworld girl." They whisper of silence. "I see prey dressed in uniform." Lira faced him, unarmed at first, hands behind her back. Her voice was calm. "You talk too much." His snarl twisted into rage. He charged, claws raised. She moved like she always had, measured, precise. She sidestepped, struck his knee, pivoted. He roared, swinging heavy. She didn't match force with force. She let his pride drive him into overreach, every blow missing by inches. The fight slowed to rhythm, his fury against her patience. Finally, when his chest was open, she struck once. Not with rage, with choice. A clean strike drove his own blade back into him. He staggered, eyes wide. "You choose restraint, even now?" She met his gaze. "That's why you lost." He fell, claws scraping the deck, pride bleeding out with him. The hangar fell silent. Cadets and soldiers stared as she stood over him, calm, composed, breathing steady. On comms, the coalition erupted. Veyrik's fleet, leaderless, faltered. The coalition pressed, striking with sudden unity. In minutes, the storm shattered. Later, as smoke cleared and ships steadied, the council assembled again. The presiding envoy's voice echoed heavy. Humanity was tested in silence. Now humanity has shown storm. They are not prey. They are not monster. They are ally. He looked to her. "And you, Lira Vey, you are no longer cadet. You are commander." Whispers spread, cadets and envoys alike watching her with awe and fear. She bowed her head slightly. "Titles don't matter. Survival does." The insectoid cadet at her side whispered, "But survival follows you." That night, she stood again at the viewport. Stars burned bright, debris drifting among them. The insectoid joined her as he always did. "You broke him," he said softly. "No," Lira answered. "He broke himself." "I just waited," he tilted his head. "Then what will you do now?" Her reflection in the glass was calm, unreadable. The galaxy knows silence. Now it knows storm. Next it will learn endurance. And beyond the viewport, lightning flashed across the frontier world, storms rolling without end. The border station still smelled of fire, scorched metal, burnt circuitry, and the faint tang of blood clung to every corridor. Crews worked without pause, sealing breaches, dragging wreckage aside, patching life support systems that had barely held under Veyrik's assault. Among them walked Lira Vey, silent as always, eyes sharp, posture steady. Where others sagged with exhaustion, she moved as though the battle had ended only moments ago. The cadets she passed stiffened. Some looked away, others lowered their heads. None dared speak. She had killed their nightmare, and in doing so had become something greater and more terrifying. In the command chamber, the council had reconvened. Delegates filled the tiers once more, voices lower than before, weighed with the memory of fire. The presiding envoy's silver eyes tracked her as she entered. "Commander Vey," he said, the title deliberate. "You carry victory." "But victory leaves questions." The crystalline delegate pulsed uneasily. Veyrik's fleet has scattered but not destroyed. Fragments regroup. His death may spark 1,000 new blades instead of peace. The reptilian envoy's crest twitched. And whose fault is that? You let a human lead. Now rebels rally against us, claiming the council bows to predators. The insectoid envoy cut in, voice sharp clicks. Predators? She saved us while you argued. Without her, none of us would sit here today. Arguments rose, voices clashing again. But this time the noise didn't swell as high. For every protest there was hesitation. Fear tempered fury. The presiding envoy silenced them with a raised hand. His gaze never left her. What say you, human? What future do you see? Lira stood in the circle of light. Her words were quiet, each deliberate. The storm is not over. Veyrik is gone, but the idea of him remains. You can scatter to your factions, fight one another and wait for the next warlord. Or you can stand together and endure, the hall murmured. The crystalline flickered. The reptilian envoy sneered, but softer this time. The presiding envoy leaned forward. And humanity's role in this endurance? Her reply was steady. We don't lead by choice. We lead because storms always break around us. After the session, the insectoid cadet found her on the outer deck, where cracked panels revealed stars beyond. His antennae twitched with unease. You spoke to them as if they were soldiers, he said. They are, she answered. They just don't admit it yet. His mandibles clattered nervously. And you? Are you soldier now? Her gaze stayed on the void. I was born soldier. Earth never gave me a choice. He tilted his head. Choice again? Yes, she said. Always choice. Days passed. The council fleet limped through recovery, but whispers spread faster than repairs. Lira's name carried through stations, colonies, even border worlds untouched by war. To some, she was savior. To others, a warning. Reptilian deserters swore vengeance for Veyrik. Colonists told stories of a girl who broke a warlord without rage. Council officers argued quietly about what humanity meant for the balance of power, and through it all, Lira trained. On the drill deck, cadets lined in formation. Reptilians, avians, crystalline, insectoids, all together, eyes on her. Why us? One cadet demanded. Why follow a human? She walked slowly down the line, gaze unflinching. Because you survived when you followed. And because survival is the only lesson that matters, another spoke, bitter. You make it sound easy, her voice sharpened. It isn't. Survival costs everything, comfort, pride, even fear. Pay the cost or die. Silence fell heavy. No one argued further. Later in the mess hall, the reptilian from her squad approached, one who had once scorned her, then fought under her command. He lowered his crest in grudging respect. You saved me when you could have let me fall, he said. Why? She studied him, calm. Because you weren't enemy. You were mistake waiting to happen. Mistakes can be corrected. Dead can't. His jaw tightened. I don't fear you now. I follow. She inclined her head slightly. Then learn. Word reached them soon after. Fragments of Veyrik's fleet regrouping near the shadow of a gas giant. Small, scattered, but dangerous still. The council argued once more, whether to pursue or wait. This time, the presiding envoy turned directly to her. You brought us through storm once, he said. Will you take us again? Her answer was immediate. Yes, the hall stilled. The presiding envoy's silver eyes glowed faintly. Then command is yours. That night, she returned to the viewport, the insectoid at her side as always. Stars gleamed sharp, debris drifting in the void. You accept their command, he said softly. But do you want it? Her reflection in the glass was calm, unreadable. Want doesn't matter. Survival does. He hesitated, then asked. And if survival costs you everything? She turned from the stars, eyes steady. Then I pay. The galaxy whispered her name now, not as cadet, not as envoy, but as storm-bearer. And somewhere beyond the frontier, the remnants of Veyrik's fleet stirred. The storm was not finished. It was only gathering again,